Hi, I'm Dennis Hanson. And this is my Triumph Speed 4. Alright, so I've been putting my bike back together and it's going pretty well. And I did see one thing I wanted to do before I started riding it again. So what I'm going to do is, or what I've done is I've added a relay to my manual switch for the cooling fan. And I'm going to go through that in just a minute. My reassembly is going well. I've got the radiator back on. I've got everything pretty much where it needs to be. These harnesses, I got to clean that up a little bit. But yeah, it went together all right. There's a couple snags you're going to run into. There's two square block terminals that one's for the headlight, the other's for the dash instruments. And so what I did is I pulled the fuses on both, and then I put the power to it, and then figured out which one was which, and so I got that right. So it's not a big deal, but it might help you out. All right, so I've had a problem before with this bike. It was a long time ago, but and I did do a temporary fix. But the bike would get too hot. And I live in Florida. Even though I live at the beach, it still gets pretty hot here in the summer. And I really don't like to ride my bike in the summer because I feel like it gets too hot. One of the ways I got around that was I put in a switch, just a off-on switch, between the positive terminal and the positive wire for the cooling fan. And I've done things like that in the past, and with mixed results. Usually if you're going to carry much of a load or for any amount of time, you really need to do it with a relay and not put all that electricity running through that switch. It's really, those switches aren't built for that. Alright, so what I did, this is the fan wire, and so I took those out. One's hot, one's cold. One's positive, one's a negative, I should say. Ran those back up into here. I still utilized my switch down here, which I did in another video. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little manual switch I installed there, and ran all the wires up through here. It's kind of it looks like a mess, but it's really not too bad. And as far as the relay, this is a JD 1912, and it's okay to use this if you don't mount. You know, it's all right to mount this horizontally as opposed to vertically. And so anyways, I'll just show you how this works. Alright, so let's just say I'm riding along, it's getting hot, stopped, which doesn't happen too much for where I live because we don't have much traffic, but if it stops, I notice this bike gets warm pretty fast. So what I can do is I can go over here, click the switch, and I got the cooling fan. I have to tell, I don't really think those cooling fans are all that great, but I guess it's better than nothing. Alright, so the main advantage of using a relay is that you've got the power comes into the relay from a switch, and instead of all the power going through the switch, it goes through the relay, and a relay can handle more power than just a regular switch. Alright, so I'll try to explain how I did this. If you're looking at my diagram, this is the cooling fan, okay? And this is the relay. The relay's got 4 posts. And here's the battery. So if you look at, here's the cooling fan. This is the negative wire. There's a red wire. I don't know if it's red, but and then a black wire. This is going to go back to the ground. Okay. This post 86 on the relay is also going to go back to the ground. Then you got your switch. There's two wires coming off of the positive side of the battery. One goes to the switch, and the other one that you fuse goes to post number 30, and that's the main power here. And what happens when you flip the switch, the power goes from here to the device. It doesn't go through the switch anymore. And that's why you can, it handles better. It just does better at that. I hope that makes sense. All I can tell you is it works. Alright, so kind of got an idea of how that works. If you're interested in doing that and you get stuck, you can leave me a comment or shoot me an email. I can help you out with that. It's pretty simple. The other thing I noticed, I put new plugs in my bike, and you really need one of those thin line sockets. I think it's a 16 mil. You don't want to use anything but a thin line, because when you're pushing the socket down into the hole, the spark plug hole, it will tear at the seal that you just put in the cam cover. So, and you don't want that. That would compromise that seal, and you're going to have an oily mess. But anyways, bike's getting back together. I'm happy about that. Hope to have it up and running pretty soon. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching.